Hi there everyone, Soulsir17 here. Let me first, like usual, I have made the thumbnail. These are not, I don't the pictures, not a paid video. Okay. Oh boy, you guys do not want to know the 2 days I have been having. I mean, it's like, how can I say this? You all know about my ex-girlfriend, my third one. Some stuff happened, um, because of her. Nothing bad for me. I mean, I'll still make YouTube and all that. I'm not gonna go anywhere. She hasn't even contacted me. It's just something happened where this phone I'm recording on will go away, and I will have to use my phone I use for everyday life. So I will get calls from it at times or messages, and I don't, not to get rid of those notifications or anything. So I will have to pause and, well, take take the calls and such, or check the messages. And I can't, edit them out, so please ignore them. All right. Anyways, figured I should let you guys know that. And yeah, this is a What If Deku was summoned to Ruby, Part 3. I kind of watched all of freaking Volume 2, but we're gonna try to get as much as we can with that added content I'm gonna be having in here, along with the story. So basically, we're not gonna go into the scene where it would have shown Mercury and, well, her name starts with E. Hold on, I wrote it down. Emerald. Yeah, we don't go to those two. We're basically at that night where Izuku's having a dream, and in this dream, he doesn't see nothing but a figure standing in front of him. And he's like, "What the? Who are you?" And this figure says, "I'm very surprised you're able to get this strong with the power. I mean, I expected it to take a lot longer. But, of course, you always are a hard worker, I see. So, I shouldn't really be surprised." And Izuku's like, "Wait, how do you know me?" She goes, "Oh, Izuku, you'll find out sooner or later who I am. But, in the meantime, as this figure is starting to walk towards Izuku can't move. And, well, then basically the figure puts a finger onto Izuku's head and he goes like, "You are ready for the next power. Now wake up." He was like, "What the? Who are you? Who are you?" As when he wakes up, he does, scream out, "Who are you?" As he just knows his hand has electricity coming off of it. Which then Ruby, Yang, Blake, and Weiss comes in. They're like, "Izuku, what's wrong?" As they see electricity coming off his, hand and arm. He's like, "What the?" Which Ruby's like, "Is that supposed to happen?" And he's like, "No, I think. Just another power I have to work on now. Crap." Which then Ying's like, "That's kind of cool. Imagine you're able to, well, charge up any batteries real quick." It's like, "I'm not gonna be a battery charger. Why do I have a feeling I would have met someone like that? Eh. At least I don't lose brain cells if I use electricity." Somewhere in the My Hero Academia universe, Denki sneezes. Okay, enough joking around that one. So, Blake does go over to him and saying, "Are you sure you're right?" He was like, uh, "Just having a bad dream, I guess, or a dream. I can't remember much happened besides just waking up saying, 'Who are you?' And then this, as electricity is coming off his hand, he's like, 'What's going on in this world?' Which, again, Blake asks, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Just, I'll be fine. I'll just have to go talk to Ozpin after we eat. All right?" She goes, "Right." So, Izuku basically says, "Now, please get back to your side so I can change." Like, oh, right. As you know, Ruby's the only one who's staying there. She goes, "Izuku, are you sure you're okay?" He's like, "Somewhat. I don't know for sure, honestly." Like I said, I'll talk to Ozpin. We'll figure this out, alright? Now, please, get changed and go eat. She's like, "Alright, but you better make sure. I mean, you're part of the team, so." He's like, I know, leader has to look out for her teammates." Thanks, Ruby. And thanks, Blake, Yang, Weiss. I mean, no, we. Uh, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry about that. It just dyslexia kicked in for a minute. I got it all covered twice, and she goes. They basically all of them says no problem. As you know, Ruby leaves, and well, Izuku changes. They all go to the lunchroom basically for breakfast. So while Izuku is looking at his scarf, making sure there's no rips or tears in it, all of a sudden he sees little symbols in the scarf. He's like, "What the? Huh? A scythe, a sword, and sheath? What does that look like? Weiss's? Yeah, that looks like Weiss's swords and well, I mean, wait, that's Ruby's then scythe, Blake's sword and sheath, Weiss's sword, and then Yin's. Holy shit! My fucking scarf actually saved this. Wait, so that means I can have unlimited amount of weapons saved? And I can use them at any time? As he had a smile and he said it out loud as everyone at the table, while Ruby was giving this speech, just looks at him. He's like, did I miss something? And then Ruby basically goes like, "Yes, no, cool that you found that out, and also, my best plan to basically make this semester, because it's been 2 weeks of people being here." She basically says again, let me say this again, "Sister, friends, Weiss," and then she goes, "Hey," and then basically she gives the exact same speech. So the whole entire event of the food fight happening does happen, but Izuku, it just while this whole entire food fight is happening, it's just eating, and then he's just seen the fight, and he's like, "Okay, let's see where this goes. Good entertainment." So Sun and a new character, sees Izuku. He walks over to Izuku, like, "Hey, Izuku, what's up?" He's like, "Son, and who's your friend?" He was like, "Oh, this is Neptune." He's like, and Neptune goes like, "Hey." He was like, "Hi." He's like, "Should we stop them?" He's like, "No, this is entertaining." And basically, they're fighting with bread, turkeys, and then Zuko was like, "Okay, first off, how the hell is that bread stained, like not breaking?" And then then all of us how can I say this? Ruby did the whole entire thing about the whole entire this is the whole entire war thing for the food fight, and then at the end of it she says, "This will be delicious," and crushes the milk. Yeah, she did all that too. I forgot to mention. I just can't remember because I haven't watched it in a couple hours, so my mind is focusing on the stories and other stuff. So, but anyways, so oh yeah, I think it was, "This will be swift, this will be painful, this will be delicious." Yeah, I think that was all that. Anyways, So Weiss, they get to the scene where they had the ketchup spurn out to basically be like a stream of ice, and he's like, "Okay, how the hell is that even possible?" And then all of a sudden, a swordfish appears in her hand. And he's like, "How is there a swordfish here?" Which Neptune's like, so, yeah, I'm actually wanting that too." Sun says, "Yeah, how?" Izuku says, "Probably some anime logic." They just look at him and be like, "What's anime?" He was like, "Never mind." And he's like, "Seriously? I can't reveal to them that I'm from a different dimension," he's thinking. So, well, let's just say the fight continues on, like in Ganon, when Blake gets in flying. Izuku immediately just, like, jumps up and catches her. And she was like, thanks for the save." He's like, "No problem." He puts her down, he's like, "You know what, this is just getting too out of hand," so he just grabs his scarf, and then all of a sudden, it just starts turning into Ruby's freaking scythe. And Ruby just seeing it, be like, that's unfair." He's like, "Deal with it." So he puts it right behind him, basically starts shooting it, and, well, empty up the cartridges of bullets, and just starts, how can I say this? He's basically just starts running really fast until Ruby, like, "Come on, follow!" And she's out, right. So basically, she runs, and Izuku does have his, cloak on, so he is moving fast. Ruby caught up, and then basically she starts spinning while Izuku, well, let's just say, he's in front of her, basically making her go even faster. And when he jumps, well, like, he basically has the scythe in the roof. He's on, like, holding on to his all that food that basically they had on their side was coming at them, goes all the way towards, well, Jean, Piera, Nora, and Lee. So, and they all go into the wall, it cracked and such. So yeah, and then Goodwitch comes and, fixes everything and saying, "Children, do not play with your food." And then, those are, moving the glasses up, saying she's about to yell at them, but then, well, Ozpin says, "Let them be children for now. I mean, they deserve it." Blah, blah, blah. They won't have time to. And Zuko's like, "Hey, don't forget about me." As soon he basically gets the scythe out of the roof and falls down, but turns back to the scarf. He goes like, "Ozpin, sir." Hi, Professor Goodwitch. She's like, "Izuku?" He's like, "Listen, I need to, well, can we talk in private, please?" He's like, "Wait," she's like, "Is it bad?" He's like, "It's something you need to know, both of you." So it's like, "All right then, come with me." He looks back at his team. He's like, "I'll be back. I'll see you in the library as we planned." I think basically they all of them put the thumbs up, and he goes away. Blake is, well, looking at Izuku when he's going out, and Yang's like, "Hey, what's up? Something wrong with you?" She goes like, "Sorry, it just seems like he's going through a lot." I mean, have you guys noticed sometimes when he talks about his mom and saying like she was good, a good person? I mean, do you think she's, because I never made it where Zuko specifically say it. It could mean like she's a good she was a good person because he's in a different dimension, so they don't know. He never really explained it, and River was like, "Well, we never asked, and I didn't want to be rude." Which Yang says, "Same." And Weiss says, "I have a feeling it's the worst scenario, but we'll find that out whenever he's ready to tell us. We can't force him." Which Blake nods, and she goes, "But still, what if he never tells us? I'm kind of worried about him then." So everyone just looks at Blake, and she goes, "What?" She was like, "I mean, sorry, it's just never seen the side of you that says, you worry about someone so much." She's like, "Well, he's our teammate." And, she just walks away. Really just looking, and then she's like, then looking at Yang. Yang just nods. And Weiss is like, is this like some sister, like, mental connection that I don't have? And they say yes. So, back with Ozpin, Goodwitch, and Izuku in the office, he was like, Izuku, what is it? He's like, this. As all of a sudden he shows electricity, aka, well, would be lightning, coming off his hand. If you ask him why, if you really think about it, if he's able to have fire, why not have lightning coming off of his body too? Like he's able to shoot it out. So, makes sense. Anyways, continuing on, as Ozpin says, this is interesting. For you to have two elements already. He's like, look, I don't get how, but I know Amber said she's basically able to control basically have lightning strike and fire. But how am I supposed to even have this much power right so quickly? It's only been like maybe like a couple months or days. I've been training so much I actually lost track of time. Which Goodway says, well, it hasn't been that long, but here's the thing, Izuku. You're gonna have to train even harder now. You've been training your fire, you became very proficient in it. To the point where like it says this, it is a extension of your body. Maybe the power inside of you seemed it was worthy and time for you to become with a new element, a new power, basically. It's like to control. And he's like, alright, I just thought I should let you guys know. Also, what about the whole entire, well, me being not like having the power that should be only a maiden should have? Which Ozpin saying, I've been discussing it with Goodwitch. Okay, I know you guys are saying, where was those scenes? Or, why are you not giving that scenes then? It's like the anime, background, detail. So, yeah, anyways. As he was like, okay, well, we decided to have someone pretend they get the power, and then basically use them as, well, as a false target. Izuku looks at him and is like, wait, what? Why would you put someone else's life in danger just because I have it? Shouldn't it be more? Because Izuku, you have only half of the power and you don't have fully controlled it yet. You'll be at risk. I'm sorry, but that's how it's gonna be. And it wasn't really my plan. Which Ozpin was sitting down in the chair, he gets up as he walks, to the, well, basically, looking out the window. He goes to the window, look out of it, and basically was like, wait, what do you mean it wasn't your plan? He goes, 3 days ago, I was in the vault. And I was checking up on Amber's condition. She was if she was waking up. When I was doing that, I heard her voice as I saw her basically not spirit. Actually, I think it was her spirit, just like how she did it beforehand. She's like, but how? She doesn't have exactly. I asked her, and she said, well, since my power left, it did technically leave me to have my own magic. So I'm able to at least do this much. And, well, anyways, I did ask her, why did you come out of your body and what did you need to talk to me then? She goes, and so she tells me, we need to have Izuku to have a double. Someone to take the place of him. While the enemy's going after the double, we can have Izuku basically train in secret to get even more powerful than what I could ever be. And he may not like it, but it's the only way, which, admittedly, I was against. I did not want to do this, Izuku. But she could not be swayed or have the idea leave the discussion. And so I talked to a good witch and an associate of mine, an old friend. He'll be arriving in, well, at Beacon soon. Which Izuku's like, an old friend? Who is it? He goes, oh, he's basically James Ironwood, a general. He is very, how can I say this? As in, Goodwitch says, always like to bring an army and go head first, showing military force. As Izuku's like, oh, he's that type of person. Man, you sound like you hate him. She's like, I do, but I have to work with him. She's like, yeah, I get it. So, he knows about me? He goes, which Ozpin goes like, yes. I actually wanted you to come here, so, well, for this. As basically a holographic image of, well, Ironwood comes on. He was like, Ozpin, is he, what, is the maiden? As then basically says, not a maiden, someone else. I already told you, the power of the season chose someone. Someone that you would never have imagined. As basically, he was like, huh? So he says, turn around. As, well, he sees Izuku. Izuku was like, Kai? Which Ironwood says, Ozpin, why did you allow this? He's like, how could I have not? The power chose someone else, and I couldn't have stopped it. How am I supposed to do anything? He's like, but still, the power of the maiden shouldn't be used by. He goes, and then Izuku's like, oi, listen up, General. I'm not from here. Ozpin told you that much, right? He goes, yes, but I doubt it. So, how much power can you use? He was like, oh, easy. As then basically Izuku just snaps a finger as, well, fire comes off of it, and then basically electricity coming off of it. He's like, I could do that much already. He's like, which Ironwood's like, wow. He's like, oh, I trained my butt off. I was already technically good at fighting. I've been technically reading the language pretty much easily now. It only took me a while, to learn about the history, and yet I'm already an ace in the history class. Fighting is a natural thing to me, and well, I may not look like I should be able to use the power. I can. And I just don't like you now. You seem like the dude who would, well, falsify or say bad things about someone to get power. So, you already made a bad impression on me. Anyways, Ozpin, see you later. Gonna have to go to class. As Izuku's walking out, and he waves bye to Ozpin and Goodwitch, as they wave bye to him too, as he's going down the elevator. Ironwood saying, Ozpin, I know I trust in you, but how is he able to use it? Do you have any footage that will calm me down on my doubts of you? And he was like, yes, here. As they say, all of a sudden, well, Ironwood sees Izuku's fighting. He's shocked by how well Izuku has controlling the flames, and he's like, and just basically, he's able to keep the control of the battle in his favor. And it's amazed by, Ironwood's amazed. He's like, I see. I see that the power chose well. He goes, yes, now then. Excuse me, I have a school to run. And then he basically shuts off, the communication. And Izuku was saying, do you think that was a wise choice? He goes, the fate of this world has changed because of Izuku Midoriya's, being here. I have a feeling this was not supposed to happen, but fate allowed it. And so, we must go for the course that it has made. This may be a little difficult, but I have a feeling that boy will come way more. Interesting than we will see today, or tomorrow even. Good, it's just not. So, Izuku goes to class, and then, everything happens. And basically, the next thing you know, they're in the library. And, well, what happens is the board game's happening, and technically Blake is playing somewhat, not really paying attention, while Izuku is looking at her hand. He's like, oh, can I please? She was like, you really want to play? He's like, yeah, please. She was like, fine, here. He's like, good. Okay, so let me see your hand. It's like, gotcha. So the whole entire scene happens with her leaving, but, well, Jean wanted to play, so Izuku said, hey, you, me, play. Same team. He's like, really? He goes, yeah, your win's my win. Come on. So, while we would go to Blake and, the room, the entire, scene will shift to, Ozpin and her having a discussion about who she is and, about being a fawn and why she hides it and such. And we'll get back to where Blake, sees Ruby, Yang, Weiss, and Izuku walking in. And she goes like, Yang's like, I can't believe you two figured out a strategy to take us all down at once. He's like, hee. What can I say? I'm good at strategy. And, well, I'm surprised by Jean. Who knew he had such a good strategy? It actually took you down in one shot. And she goes, don't remind me of that. So when Blake's about to leave, Weiss will say exactly what, she says in canon. And then Blake says, I just can't stand it how everyone just pretend it never happened. Basically, the shipyard and the White Fang and all that. Saying, like, how we could go out there and take them down and such, As then Ruby talks about how a former group of vigilante working going out there and taking down a group of unknown villains? Say I? As, Yang will say, yes, I love it when you're feisty. And Weiss will say, yeah, could be fun. And Izuku says, I. And she goes, thank you. He's like, no problem. So, after that, Sun and, Neptune will come in and technically they will join. But then Izuku's like, okay, so I was lucky I don't have any, extra classes today, so who knows about the time we, need to train, train or go out there in the world, and figure out why is this White Fang doing what they do. And, they not. So, everything will happen the next day, like in canon. At the end of class, and when Izuku gets back to the room, he's like, I can't join you guys. They go like, wait, Blake's like, why? He was like, classes for me still. And when Shane says, that sucks, he's like, yeah, believe me, Good Witch is my teacher, and she's not bad, it's just, I take every lesson, and it's very interesting, but it can be so long, not the way how she explains it, but just because of the material I have, I had to think more about it. And then the battles I have to do with just some basically, you say like monster golem she makes. And which Ruby's like, wait, really? He's like, yeah, so I'm gonna be training afterwards. If you guys need me, I'll, well, answer my phone and, you know. She's like, basically, they just say, alright. So they would do their thing. Izuku does his studies, and then he does go to train. While he's training, though, he's throwing punches and kicks, basically, but he's in the all purpose room as he goes, faster! As basically throwing more faster punches, he was like, I need to move a little bit faster. As when he started to move, when he started to become extremely fast, Ozpin, is watching him, as all of a sudden the lightning is coming off his body. As he's basically. Okay, you see how the picture is with Deku, with lightning coming off him, and that, glowing eye? Yeah, imagine that's happening right there as Ozpin's amazed. As well, he basically is connecting to the room and see how fast Izuku's going. The cameras there are technically having a hard time keeping up with him. Izuku's moving so fast that every second he's moving, like every punch and kick he does, it adds into more of that speed factor for him. So basically, he keeps on going, keeps on moving, keeps getting faster. Not to the point where he'll blip out, but to the point where the camera's having a hard time and he's basically looks like he's vibrating. Like reverse flash. So, and then all of a sudden his phone rings. He's like, and he stops. He's like, what the that was, wait, my phone. He runs over to it and he hears basically Blake saying, at the dogs being chased by, then hearing the screaming and sounds like, help us, big giant robot. He's like, shit. So he gets on his shirt, well, basically shirt, and just starts running. Place the Ozpins to the side as, Izuku's just getting on his. Well, technically, he basically changed into his huntsman's outfit, so basically, he has on, you know, smoke grenades, flash grenades, shurikens, kunai. You know, everything that he needs. And run out. As an Ozpin says, Izuku, and he's like, yes, Ozpin, sir. He's like, why are you going such a rush? He was like, I'm just going. He goes, going to help out your friend. He's like, yeah, yeah. I recommend you taking this. As he throws something to Izuku, he just catches it. He's like, huh? He goes, come with me. And Izuku follows. He's like, sir, I'm kind of in a. He's like, you're tired. I saw what you did. It's pretty amazing, Izuku. Basically, it looks like you're using the electricity to make your body and your muscles move even faster than the normal humans and the limits could even handle. And this could be because of, your body's from a different, body slash you in general are from a different world, different dimension. So, what should be harming you is actually basically making you faster than what we could handle here. He's like, okay, sir, thank you for, telling me this. This is very interesting, but he's like, yes, your friends are in danger. So, this is why you're allowed to take one of these. As Izuku just sees car, motorcycles. He's like, what? He's like, that key specifically you hold in your hand is for that motorcycle over there. And he goes like, wait, that looks like Yane's motorcycle, but green. He was like, yes, but it's a custom made. It has a basic turbo, boost, and maybe some holsters for new weapons if you need. He's like, huh? As all of a sudden, there's like little basically there's like these little circle things on the side. They open up as all this, and he sees like actual freaking guns, like different types of guns. Basically, like pistols, basically revolvers, automatic, rapid fire. Um, let's just say then one basically that can turn into a freaking shotgun. He's like, wait, are you telling me to? Yes, copy them. He's like, all right. So he copies them. Well, he basically says trace on, as it does copy all of them. It's like, whoa, this is gonna be kind of handy if I ever need long range. He's like, yes, now go. help them out. He's like, right. So basically, Izuku gets on it, and he's like, wait, I don't have a driver's license, or I don't know how to drive. He's like, don't worry, I have a feeling you'll be perfectly fine. He's like, are you sure? Yes, it's, well, an urgent business of a Beacon student, given an assignment from the headmaster himself to stop the menacing robot to destroy more property. Got it? He's like, yes, sir. So Izuku, starts up the engine and just starts riding out. But he's like, whoa, okay, take it easy, Izuku, take it easy. So basically, Ozpin is saying, he's lucky I don't get mad at him. Walking out of the garage, basically. While Izuku's riding all the way there, he gets used to riding the motorcycle as basically he's starting to put the pedal to the metal. So right when Yang punches the robot and it should be destroyed, in this one it's not. It's way more reinforced. He's like, "Ha! You can't do nothing to me." Basically, he's like, wait, who are you again?" He's like, doesn't matter basically who I am, you stupid thief. And he's like, okay, good to know I don't even have to care about you. As they hear the sound of an engine, in the background, he's like, huh? As, well, all of a sudden, right when the robot, crashed and, broke glass, all of a sudden they see, basically, a motorcycle, come off of the edge, soaring a little bit, and then basically starting in midair. As it slides, Izuku has his foot on the ground, sliding with it. As everyone was looking at Izuku, as basically, Tortrick. Yeah, I think that's his name. Okay, give me a minute. Okay. Roman Torchwick. Yeah, this does sound like Torchwick. Basically Roman. He's like, what the? As everyone says, Izuku! As he goes, can't leave, you guys to have, can't leave you guys for 5 minutes or 10 without you guys getting all the fun without me. Come on. And the Yang goes like, what? You aren't here. It's like, alright, fair point. And basically he gets his staff out, but then turns into a scythe. And then basically his scarf starts flowing up, basically as he's like, what are you gonna do with that scarf? He was like, oh, easy. As all of a sudden he gets his rapid fire pistol. He was like, shoot at you. As basically all of a sudden lightning bullets are being formed and shot at, the robot armor. As it is getting electrified as Izuku runs in over. As it, thinks the robot's trying to hit him, he dodges it. He basically slices his leg off. He goes like, Yang! Twice! Which they do not. So basically, Yang puts one of her semblance abilities. Forgot the name of her. What she does, symbol? Ruin? And basically it just, makes Yang jump up in the air. And then, she's in her gauntlets, basically, and punching the robot as Izuku stops sliding, turns around, and just dashes forward. And right when the punch happened, Izuku also sliced as it does destroy the robot. And this is when we will meet someone new. Basically, after he says, I just cleaned this, suit. As basically Izuku says, it's over, Roman. He's like, nah, it's not over yet. And then all of a sudden, someone comes down nowhere, and he's like, thanks for the save, Neopolitan. Basically, I'm just gonna call her Neo. Neo comes out. She basically has a umbrella, and when Yang punches her, all of a sudden, Roman and her break into glass. So, yeah, if you don't know who that girl is, just watch rwby, and you'll see. I just looked up I just looked up the names of the characters and wrote them down. And that's legit what the freaking name is. So, yeah, but anyways, Izuku was like, damn it, they got away. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. So, basically, let's just skip to, a like a day or two, no, for a couple, actually, yeah, a couple weeks later, not a couple weeks, a week later, basically, we are seeing the fight between Para, um, Carter, and his friends, or should I say team, against her. As well, they lost. As she goes, basically, Goodwitch says, "Excellent job, Para. It seems like you'll be getting into, well, the tournament very easily. Now then, who would like to go next?" As then, basically, a boy with, well, say, grayish hair raises his hand like, "I do." He's like, basically, it was like, Mercury. Oh yeah, I did forget to mention that they did technically meet. Well, Ruby met Mercury, Emerald, and Cinder. Yeah, nah, actually, it was Cinder. And Izuku did get this weird feeling, which she did not see Izuku, so Cinder does not know. Besides, his semblance is actually keeping the powers hidden, so she couldn't even sense him. Anyways, so as well, Good was saying, "All right then, let's find you an opponent," and he was like, "No, I want to fight her." As he just pointed to Pyrrha, as well, she was like, she just had a fight. Basically, Pyrrha's like, "Oh no, I'll be glad to have a fight," but Goodwitch in this one says, "No, I'll choose your opponent." As then he goes through, in which all of a sudden she says, "Izuku, fight him," and he's like, "Really?" He's, "Uh-huh." He's like, "All right then." So he just walks past some, Mercury, and he's like, "Let's have a good fight, all right?" He's like, "Sure." So, as Izuku gets into Mercury, as he goes, as one good witch says, "Begin." As Mercury says, "Wait, you're not gonna take out your weapon?" He goes, "It's just a staff that can turn into a scythe. Nothing big. Besides, I want to see how good you are in a fight with no weapon, since, well, you don't have it out." Which Mercury's like, "Huh? You really think so?" So, well, Mercury runs at Izuku runs at Mercury, as basically they both do a high kick, and they, it basically collides, but Izuku did hear the sound like a gunshot. And he goes, "So, that's your weapon. Your boots. Neat." He's like, "Thanks. You?" He's like, "Wish I had a pair." So, they basically just start doing hand-to-hand, fighting. While in the stands, Jean just saying, "Whoa, I didn't know he was this good." Which Ruby says, "Oh yeah, he can kick all our butts at once, actually." I mean, Blake is the only one that technically give him troubles, but he always finds a way to beat her, which Blake was actually looking at the book, but now is looking fully, intense into this fight, as, well, everyone's like cheering on, as Emerald shot that actually someone can keep up with, Mercury, as, Mercury is actually starting to enjoy this fight. He's thinking, this guy ain't bad. He knows he can take out his weapon, but he really is good. As all of a sudden Izuku looks at Mercury, he's like, "Hey, you mind if I do something real quick?" He's like, "What is it?" As all of a sudden he snaps his fingers, as then his this basically shadow field starting to go around them, and he was like, "Now then, just to make it fair." As all of a sudden, the whole tire, his leg getting covered in a scar, he was like, "What the?" And he goes, "Trace on." As it does start to have the actual bluish greenish light going onto the scarf, and then all of a sudden when it lets go, it just starts going forming into, well, Mercury's boots. And he goes, "Huh, not bad, I kind of like this." As Mercury's like, "What the?" He goes, "What?" "Never expected that." He's like, I mean, technically Izuku, the Ruby team doesn't tell them about what he can do, But everyone kind of like figured it somewhat about how his ability works, but it still is like how though? They really don't know for sure. Like Izuku doesn't tell about his semblance. All they know is when basically that black field comes around the group, all of a sudden he basically can copy a weapon or so. Yeah, he hasn't done that to many people, but eh. So when basically Mercury and Izuku can start firing, everyone can hear the sound of gunfire. Izuku even jumps up exactly the same time as Mercury. They both do exactly the same kick, and well, it just starts like Mercury is being mimicked, by Izuku, as everyone's shocked by this. And basically Mercury's like, huh, so you're mimicking me, huh? Well then try to keep up with this, as, well, he starts to jump in the air, like, tries to kick Izuku while he dodges it, and does exactly the same thing, and then, like, they both then start to spin on the ground, trying to throw a kick at each other, but missed, and it's just like, then all of a sudden Izuku stops copying him, sweep his hand off him, kicks him in the stomach with, the impact of the gunshot being heard, as he gets hit flying a little. He's like, so you guys also added your own moves to my fighting style. Interesting. I like ya. What's your name again? He goes, Izuku Midoriya. Don't ever forget it. He's like, I won't. Let's go. So the fight happens, and everyone starts cheering, and the boy says, win this, Izuku! And Izuku's like, well, that's a first. She's been grumpy all day. Alright then. Let's see. Let's make her at least happy. And Izuku then starts to run a little bit faster as Mercury's like, what the? As he throws a punch, Mercury gets, basically moves to the side from, to the punch. But then he gets punched in the stomach, basically moving up a little, and then knee up, going forward. And then all of a sudden, Izuku underneath him just jumps, feels like he's about to do a backflip, but instead he's kicking Mercury up into the air, as then, well, spin kicks him down to the ground, sending him flying. As when Izuku lands, he was like, "You done?" I'm starting to enjoy that fight a little bit too much. Sorry, I got a little bit serious at the end. Mercury's like, I give up. So the scarf goes back to normal as Izuku puts out his hand, picks up Mercury. He's like, hey, that really was fun, but the middle legs, man, they can really pack a punch on you. Luckily, I'm kind of used to that. See ya. Which Mercury's like, wait, I can easily tell by them. Sorry for your loss of your legs, but I'm glad you can walk, man. So yeah, Izuku leaving, showing good sportsmanship and everything. Mercury's kind of shocked by this. Emerald's extremely shocked someone could beat him, and it's kind of smiling as everyone in Team Ruby's seeing this is like, he won that just so she can smile. So when Izuku gets back, he's like, how was that, Blake? I won. She goes, yes, as I knew you would. He's like, so, as basically he sits right next to her. Class is ending though. Everyone's leaving besides her and him. He's like, there's a school dance coming up. And I know you don't want to go. But here's the thing. I got no date. You have no date yet. I already know Sun has I've been kind of seeing what he's been talking to, his friend Neptune, and, he's probably gonna ask you to the dance. But, look, I know you're gonna be like, oh, I'm busy, trying to figure all this stuff out, but you're pushing yourself. And then you're probably gonna leave me and not hear me. As Blake is just sitting there, just looking at him, fully attention. She's like, alright, tell me, why should I stop? He's like, stop? No, take it slow. Let me tell you what my mom told me one time. When I was working too much, no sleep, not even eating, and I was exhausted, yet I just kept on pushing myself. She told me this: if I don't take care of myself, how am I going to become stronger? How am I going to become the number one hero? If I can't even take care of myself, and then I could die any minute because of this. In fairness, I was a kid, but she was realistic with me on that. And she said if I don't sleep, my brain and my reflexes become inactive and I would get hurt very easily. She was like, okay, what does this have to do with? He was like, take it slow, take a nap, take a break, eat, do something, then research and study. Talk to Yang. She'd probably be more, I guess, more helpful for some reason. I have a feeling. But look, you are my friend. You know that, right? And I don't care about, as he points to the bow, he's like, about them. You're just a normal person to me. So how about this? I'll tell you anything if you go talk to Yang and you come to the ball. Alright? And you get a good night's sleep and everything else. Which Blake is looking at him, she goes, anything? Even if it's personal? He's like, yeah. I don't mind. She's, alright, I'll go talk. So, instead of having that little scene with her, leaving them and saying it's a waste of time, she basically gets in her room, grabs Yang, and goes away. Which, when Izuku walks into her room, he's like, hey girls, what's up? And they're like, did you just, what did you do to her? He's like, oh, I just gave her something I'll tell her. And she seemed way too excited about it, so. Yeah. So Yang tells Blake about her, Ruby, and her Uncle Crow. All of that and stuff. Then she does get some sleep. It's all happening a little bit early. So yeah. Also, when Izuku's in his room, technically getting ready, Blake is there. I mean, Sun did ask her. She did say, I'll see you at the ball then. Which wasn't a clear answer, but still. Anyways, she does come into the room of Izuku, in a tux and everything. She was like, wow, you look different. And, he does see her and he goes, he sees Blake and he's like, you look amazing. In which she, does look away from him and thinking, okay, that's cliche but smooth. And then she looks back because she was blushing a little and she stops. She was like, so, I took your advice and Yang's and I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to take it slow. And yeah. So Izuku's like, wait, I just noticed you don't have the bow on. She goes, not at this moment. And, she smiles, at Izuku and he smiles at her. He was like, alright, so what do you want to know? She goes, I know you said you'll tell me anything and I asked even personal. So I'm just gonna make this quick. Why do you keep saying about your mom? Like, she's not here, and I know it. She's not here, but she has to be alive in the other world, right? And Izuku, looking at her then looks away from her for a little bit, but then looks back up with a kind of a sad smile and look. He was like, that's the thing. Before I came here, she passed away during the 5th month of my training. I've been alone for the past 4 months before coming here. And this dimension. I I was alone, and I didn't focus very much on anything besides training. I didn't take care of myself properly for the past first month. I was I even got into some fights. I mean, it came in handy. I was already taking karate, judo, mixed martial arts, and all that. But I picked some fights with people that I shouldn't have won a little bit, and yet I came out on top of them. And I think I got a name in like the underground fight clubs, because it turned out it was like all like the champion and his friends. So, which Blake's just like, so she's dead? He's like, yeah. I've been trying not to think about it since I have a task slash mission I have to do, and I'm enjoying my time here at Beacon. I'm enjoying my time, hanging out with you guys, with you, everyone really. My mom will be happy if I actually had friends with her the very first time. And I want to thank you, like, for being my friend. Which she does go to Izuku and hugs him. And he's like, I'm sorry for making you bring her up. He's like, no, it's fine. And, he basically was hugging her for a little bit, then, breaks the hug. He's like, she would have loved to meet you. I know it. Anyways, come on. I think you have a date, or, well, technically a dance to have, right? She was 2, actually. Maybe 3. He's like, right. So they get to the ball. She goes with Sun. Everything that what happened there is in canon. But the only thing is Izuku dances with Blake for a bit. And, well, he then, like, stops. He was like, I'm not really much of a dancer, so that's enough for me. She was like, really? He was like, yeah, sorry. Have fun with Sun. She's like, alright, just don't do anything dangerous or stupid. It's like, this is me we're talking about. She looks at him and was like, okay. Maybe I may get into something dangerous. Who knows? She does look at him. She sighs. She was like, I know. So yeah. So what happened is though, Ozuku is walking away, as then basically he sees Ruby, leaving the ballroom, and then he basically, runs outside. He sees then someone, well, jumping from rooftop to get to the place that this person is going. Tower, basically, for information. As Izuku's like, well then, Ruby, looks like you found something interesting tonight. So, as he's running, no one knows that he disappeared, so basically Mercury and, Emerald did not know he left. But meanwhile with them two, she's like, so, tell me, why you didn't want to tell, Cinder about him? He's like, what? Come on. What's the worst he can do? I mean, the dude's really good at fighting. I don't know what he did, but he was able to copy my boots and basically follow my pattern and body. It was like he was, had perfect analyzation of, my movements. So, I mean, the dude's really fun to fight, and he figured out about my robotic legs. Come on, Emerald. She was like, he could be a danger to the plan. But I did like him when he basically beat you in the fight. So we won't tell her for now until he becomes a problem. Because, yeah. So, what do you think of how he launched me in the air? How was he able to do that? She's like, I don't know. But that is kind of weird how he was able to. So, well, we would go to the scene where Ruby is technically fighting this masked woman. As she... Hold on, I need to just check something out. Okay, I had my fan on. It was getting hot in my room for me. So, basically, yeah, Izuku arrives in this one. Like Rubu's about to get hit, like by an arrow, but Izuku arrived, and well, basically takes the hit. Legit, there's a path of feathers where where he came from. So it's like right into his shoulder. He's like, ugh, fuck. As Ruby's like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. As well, basically, the mysterious woman disappears. As all of a sudden, though, the arrow starts to change into a dust. I think, or crystal. It doesn't matter. As then basically Ironwood comes in and well instead like he basically congratulates them both, but he does tell us if he gets to the medical, station or nurse's office. John also wore the dress. So Izuku when he says right. He leaves and such. As then all of a sudden he does see something like right next to him. He's like, so, you basically have something from the one who stole the other half. And he's like, huh? Wait, you're the... And he, basically this, being nods. He's like, uh-huh. You're the one who can see me, so don't worry. It's like, okay. Who are you? And she goes, basically this being was like, I'm the power within you. The one who has my other half of my power, basically is the one who shot you. Well, telling you to shot the arrow for your friend. So, I thought, since my other half is technically with her, why not you gain the same, semblance as her? And he's like, wait, what? Why? And how's that even possible? And, well, basically, this being just says since it's basically I'm already connected to her, so I technically can make you have her also semblance. Also, I just want to see what you'll do with it. So yeah. So basically, Zuku's like, he starts playing for a few minutes, and he's like, I'm just seeing things and hearing things. Sure, I'm yawning a lot. So basically, after that, he's on his way to the medical, to the nurse's office. Blake sees him. She runs out. She goes, what happened? He's like, it's nothing. I just got shot by an arrow. She basically says, like, to where are you going? He's like, to the nurse's office. She's like, oh, I'm gonna come with. It's like, no, enjoy your time with your date. She goes, no, this is way more important. So yeah. She does take care of Izuku, but she can't. But basically, Blake became a little bit overprotective. So yeah. Anyways, so right around this time, we would totally have them. I'm just saying, I'm gonna save the next parts for later since I'm gonna do exactly the same thing like last time. Go with what I need, and then the parts, and then go into the next part. Try to make it like part of volume 2 is 2 parts. So yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna tired one. I'm gonna go get some sleep. Hopefully nothing bad happens to me today. And yeah, you guys have a nice day, night, wherever you guys are. Stay safe out there, and well, hope you guys always have a better day than me. Bye everyone.